Thanks for tuning in to another episode of PSL On The Mic, the City of Port St. Lucie's official podcast. So if you listen to our podcast the day that it drops, if you're listening to this one, it's Black Friday. So maybe you're in your car listening to us, driving around, holiday shopping perhaps, looking for that new, latest tech gadget for the gadget lover in your life. Well, Port St. Lucie Police, they love gadgets too. And they incorporate some of these gadgets into their everyday working lives to help keep us safe and as well as the officers. So that's why we're here today. If you're watching us, you can see these cool gadgets on the table. We've got an indoor drone and what we're going to discuss in a little bit here with Sergeant Matthew Reynolds with Port St. Lucie Police. I'm great. How are you?
Good.
Before we get into everything, I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been with the department, what you do there, what you love about it.
Yeah. So I've actually been a cop since 2008. I was with the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office.
Oh, okay.
And then in 2016, I migrated over here. Short time after that, I got promoted. I was the start with the chief in our drone unit. We started that in 2019.
Yep.
And kind of progressed up, and we've gotten more and more toys and more tools to help our officers. So
that's awesome. Now, the whole idea of us kind of doing a podcast about PD's quote-unquote gadgets was because of the introduction of this robot dog. So I guess it was the Special Weapons and Tactics team that unveiled it, I guess just a few months ago, I believe, right?
We've had it for a couple months now. We've used it in the field. It's a good little tool to have.
Yeah, let's just jump into it since it's kind of like the elephant in the room, literally, the dog in the room. Why did you get it? What does it do? How does it help us?
So why we got it, all of our tools, they have very specific jobs. You know, there's not one tool that does everything, just like there's not one officer that does everything. We specialize in different things. So for search warrants or for barricaded suspects in a house, we have other ground robotics. Our main one that we had at the time was a tracked robot. And the problem with that is the tracks when you would go into a house, you got the curtain pulls. Ladies' underwear seem to always catch up in there for some reason.
And it kind of rolls. It literally rolled like a track.
It's like a tank, but it's rubber tracks. So as that would navigate through a house, it would catch up on laundry, strings. Like I said, curtain pulls would be the downfall of it. It would get caught up in that, and now it's stuck. It's in the house.
And then what do you do? Right.
It can't do what you need it to do. So we were looking at alternatives. There's wheeled robots. There's other things, and then we came across this, the bipedal dog. The big one that you've seen is like the Boston Dynamics Spot. Mm-hmm. This is a lot cheaper. That other one's several $100,000.
Wow.
But we got it off a grant, is how we came about this one, a local JAG grant, and we were able to make it happen. So that's how we got this little guy right here.
That's awesome. So I was going to ask you how much one of these things costs, but I mean, you can probably know, but we got a grant, which is awesome.
Yeah. So the taxpayers here didn't have to pay for it, or the city tax dollars didn't pay for it. We got it from a federal grant. The JAG grant, and this one cost us $25,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
And this was like the less expensive version of the one you were talking about.
Yeah. So it is agile, it is nimble, it can go through a house, it can run. It could probably, the top speed is a little over faster than you could probably walk, maybe a slow jog.
Okay.
But we don't need it to be fast because what we need it to do is get in a house. On the front, it's got several cameras. It's got one right here on the front. It's got one forward facing here with auxiliary lights, and then a rear facing one. And we've used it several times now since we've gotten it, and it's been a lifesaver for just getting intel inside of a house.
Yeah, explain a little bit about that. Like, this makes it, I guess it makes it safer for our actual human officers now because this robot dog can go in and see if there's anyone in there or what else is going on, right?
Correct.
Before you enter.
So typically, if there's a scenario that happens that requires the SWAT team, Special Weapons and Tactics, to come out, obviously it's something where usually a criminal barricade, which we mean, a subject has barricaded themselves inside a house, they're armed, and it's a situation where we are not going to leave. We're not going to walk away from that due to the danger to the community or society at large. So we're staying there. So instead of sending an officer into harm's way, which ultimately we may have to do that.
Right.
But to gain intelligence, situational awareness inside the house, we'll either breach the door, whether we use our indoor drone, which we may talk about later, that has a glass break, we can break a window and fly in there, or we can send in a robot through a front door or garage door. We can push it through a window. And that allows us to see either where the suspect may be. Sometimes the suspect has already disabled themselves, so we can see if they're down. So that instead of prolonging a situation or deploying gas into a house.
Yep.
So it's a force multiplier in that respect, but it also, the big thing is saving our officers from injury. Because if we have to send somebody in there and they shoot at them, I'd rather them shoot at this $25,000 robot that we're happy to replace instead of paying for injuries to myself or funeral for an officer.
Human life,
yeah,
right.
Correct.
This thing looks a little beat up. You said you've used it a few times.
Yep.
What about maintenance of especially the robot dog, but of any of this technological equipment? I'm sure there's maintenance, upgrades, features can be added, stuff like that.
Yeah, correct. So I mean, a lot of the wear and tear, if you were to look at it, like how we can see it, it's mostly on. It's like shoes.
Yeah,
you
sure.
know, we walk around a lot, so our shoes get worn out. So we got to replace those every so often. So for the robot, mainly, it's just its feet that we haven't gotten here long enough to where it's going to need a replacement. But as it walks, you know, it's like a little kid. You know, it may stub its toe, or you know, going up over up a stair. That's where a lot of these scrapes and dings that you see are from stairs, but it can navigate those successfully pretty well. The other thing for upgrades that you said we can do, we've done, we have a thing called a brink ball. It's what our negotiators will use. Essentially, it's just a little hard ball that has the guts of a cell phone in it. So it's durable. We can throw it in a house. We can throw it in an attic if somebody's in an attic. So we've been able to deploy that with this. It's a mount that goes on the back,
attach.
in the back there, and we can either have it quick release where it'll drop. So we'll just bring the dog in, because like you said, this can kind of be intimidating if you were in the middle of the night or you see this walking in your house. That can be intimidating. So we can drop that off and then have this come back out. So this also can be fitted with an arm, which we don't have. That wasn't at the price point for the grant, but that might be something we look in the future that can help open doors. The tracked robot I spoke about before, the good thing that had is it had an articulating arm, so we can open doors and do all that other stuff, or drop stuff. For our negotiators, it could drop a Go phone, so that, again, everything is to de-escalate. Our successful conclusion for us is everybody coming out, number one, us and society being unharmed, but also we're concerned about the suspect. We want them to come out, and hopefully they do it voluntarily, but that's our ultimate goal, is to have them come out with a successful conclusion.
And when you talk about negotiating, you were saying the ball has a cell phone. That would be for the person who's, say, inside the house, if they don't have access
so if they didn't have a communication device,
Okay.
or if they're negotiating and their cell phone dies, obviously they've barricaded themselves maybe in the back room of a business or a house, they don't have their charger, it's not an ideal situation for them. So instead of just saying, okay, well, we're at a dead end. No, we have tools that will allow that continued conversation with the rapport that they've developed with one of our negotiators. So it's just another thing to extend that. Again, give them every opportunity, because they have the ultimate vote in the end of the situation. We're not leaving, so they can decide how it turns out, and we let them keep that choice.
And you said you've used it before. What was the outcome? Like, how did it work? Like the first time you used it in a situation?
The first time we used it, which was on the news story, it was the day after the news story that we broke that we used it. That was for just a simple search warrant. Not too long, I think maybe a week or two after that, right after we first got it, we had another search warrant. It was for a child pornography case, and the suspect did not want to go to jail. So before the SWAT team even went in, he barricaded himself. He went up into the attic, fell through, and then went back up into the attic. So again, rather than sending officers into the unknown there, we deployed the drones, a couple drones, and the robot dog to watch the different bedrooms and determine if we could see any movement and see where he was. Again, before we sent somebody in the house, we deployed gas in that circumstance and made it so he came out. But actually, no, that situation, he didn't come out. We eventually had to send officers in, but we kind of knew certain areas to where he was, and we could narrow it down so that the officers were focused and not put in an ambush situation. So.
Right. Yeah, let's get into the drone. Now, most people, our communications department has a drone, but it's mostly for taking, pretty pictures at events. This is an indoor drone. You also have an outdoor drone.
Correct.
Let's talk about the outdoor drone first. Does it have, is there anything special to that drone? I'm sure it's a little bit more advanced than what we have.
Yeah, so it's a lot more advanced than the typical DJIs, which are now Florida governments can't use any DJI or anything from countries of concern is what the law states. So Russia, China, any of those countries.
Right.
So it has to be approved manufacturers. So our outdoor drone now, it has FLIR, so we can see at night, thermal. which again, for anybody hiding in the woods, it's hide and seek.
Yeah.
Where we're allowed to cheat, you know. So we can, if you're out there, we're going to see you.
Yeah.
And the resolution on that is fantastic.
And it shows up like the person, like it's heat, so it's like orange, red.
Yeah,
as if you
correct,
could see
correct.
if someone's out there.
Yeah, there's different thermal palettes that we can do.
Okay.
We can do colored ones or black hot, white hot.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I've seen
So
that.
and the environment, you know, there's a lot of thermal palettes, but the environment really dictates which palette is good or ideal for that situation. So we may be fluid if you're going through an urban area. If we're looking for a missing person, a child. Going from an urban area and then maybe they go into a wooded area, we may switch thermal palettes on the fly just
Okay.
because one's more ideal. So we do that. The cameras have a great zoom, 128 times zoom.
Oh, wow.
So while we're up high, again, most of the time it's not a secret that we're out. Most of our operations
Yeah.
are not clandestine. We're not spying on people. It's always in reaction. We're finding somebody who fled. It's for an emergency situation, protect life. You know, grandma that walked away that has Alzheimer's.
Finding a missing child, maybe?
Missing child.
Yep.
You know, what started our unit actually was back pre-2019.
Okay.
Down off Becker, there was a little girl that, autistic girl that ran away from her house, and she went into the pond. And at that time, our chief was like, never again. We're going to do whatever we can to make it so that this doesn't happen. And this was one of the tools that we started off of that.
Good,
So,
that's awesome.
yeah.
Bad circumstances, but now we have everything.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's training. Oh wait, we didn't get into the indoor drone
No,
because
yeah.
this is really cool. He was telling us about how it has a glass breaker and everything. So hopefully, if you guys are listening, go to YouTube and watch us because you get to see these cool gadgets. Explain this one now.
So the indoor drone, it's for our operations integrated into SWAT. We were using the DJI Mini 2s, which is cages. So
Right,
similar to
little
what we
tiny
have
ones.
here, but that had a cage that wrapped around. It was flimsy plastic. It was a good use. Like you could fly around the house and be okay. But if you lost GPS, it had the inertial movement. It would move around. So a lot of indoor houses in Florida, ceiling fans, ACs always
yeah.
going. So it blows you around, dust. So moving up into the world we have now, where this drone is obviously an upgrade. So the other thing that this has is on the front of it. If you look underneath, it has a speaker. So this also has the guts of a cell phone in it. So we can land and perch.
Oh, that's awesome.
So again, you know, enhanced communications is you can land, and now it has a microphone. And it has a phone number specific to it. So our negotiators can call into the drone. We can land, and then they can start talking. So we can land outside the door. They can start talking, or as they go through the residence. Obviously, when it's flying, the motors are too loud to hear.
Sure.
But we can land, and they can have that continued communication. So that's the first selling point over what we used to have, why this is fantastic. The other thing, this does have FLIR as well, so it has thermal, so we can see in the
Okay.
dark. So if the power's cut, if we're going into a vehicle at night, we can see inside. Obviously, you can't see through glass. Thermal can't see through glass, but if we're in that structure, we can see in the night. It does have supplementary lights, so you can illuminate. Again, if you're going into a dark environment, a lot of times it's not ideal environments that we go into. We're in 2 or 3 in the morning,
Yeah.
and it's never a clean house, so dust and everything. So that helps penetrate and be able to see what's inside the house. The other attachments that we have, which is on here now, which is called a glass break. So how that helps us, we've used it. If you saw in the news, there was a gentleman that barricaded himself in a U-Haul van out in Tradition. We've used that. There was another case recently. A gentleman, again, barricaded himself in his car at the Wawa in Tradition.
I remember that,
So
yeah.
that was recent.
Right.
So we use that, again, to break, so it can break vehicle glass, and that can allow either the SWAT team to deploy chemical agents into the vehicle,
Okay.
again, to try and get them to give up, make them uncomfortable in the vehicle. Or in houses, as I said, for the first scenario we had, these are very agile. We can fly through attic access. The guy who fell through the attic, we can fly through that hole and just fly. You can go through around trusses. It's fine indoors.
Wow.
So this has been a game changer for us in terms of how we can, our impact on the SWAT team. Again, saving that person from going into the attic where they could be an ambush situation if the person's armed. Again, I'd rather them destroy this drone
Yeah.
than hurt one of my guys.
I
So
100% agree here. The training. You just can't like pick this thing up and fly it. So
No.
what is the training for any? I mean, I'm sure, you get your techie guys. They can fly this. They could work this. But is there a set amount of time where you have to train with it? before you can deploy it and use it?
So most drones, going back to the DJI days, that's what I say DJI because that's what everybody's familiar with.
Exactly.
That's the giant of the commercial world is DJI. You go to Best Buy, you can buy DJI.
Yep.
Those, I joke, you don't fly those. You just position them in the sky. You just say, go here, it stays there. The GPS tells it to go there. Anybody can
Does
fly
the work
them.
for you.
If it crashes, it's because you made it crash.
Exactly.
You told it to do that, and it did what you said. These ones are kind of the same thing. But there's a lot more capability. So all of our pilots are commercial certified with FAA. We have Part 107,
Part 107,
certification.
yep.
So that takes a couple months to work up to that, take the test. We, on the other side, train our guys. We have a first initial 40-hour course that we put them through, and then before they're even allowed to go on call and work calls on the road, it's another couple months of training that we do. On our regular training basis, we train twice a month, 2 10-hour days, where we're going through all of our stuff, whether it be outdoor scenarios. We train with our canines, so we can integrate with them better, communications with the ground. We're not just following the canines and watching them. We're really pushing ahead and tracking and helping them. And then training on indoors. So we'll go around. We've developed great relationships with our community, different apartment complexes, businesses. TAMCO's allowed us to go out there, and we'll train indoors in the actual facilities that hopefully we never have to go into.
Right.
But we're
just in
already
case you have
familiar
to.
with those
Yeah.
businesses. Yeah. So that's a great relationship. We're leveraging that with our community, and they like it because the police get to be there for the day, and it helps us out because my guys get new environments where they get to train in. So.
Now, you guys also, the officers wear body cams.
Correct.
And you've upgraded the technology, I believe, in your body cams even just a few years ago.
Yes. Yep.
Can you talk about that and how, everybody has their opinion on body cams, but they help the officer, of course, and also people out there in the community. Explain how that works with body cams and how they are actually important to what you guys do.
Yeah. So there was a movement several years ago that kind of went across the nation about police accountability. And for me, I was for it. I'm like, especially here, we have great officers. We have as a citizen, you should know that you have professional officers here working here. Yes, we do get some complaints, and they're mitigated. But body cams, there was a fear from the officer corps initially, like, oh, somebody's going to be watching. But again, you realize everywhere we go, there's cameras. There's traffic cameras.
Yep.
You go to Walmart, there's Walmart cameras. Everybody's got cell phones now. So you might as well have your perspective captured as well. And ultimately, that's it's not the best evidence because, what you can see, it's a perspective. So it only looks a certain way.
Yep.
It's not getting a 180 like I can see or a 180 plus degree view.
Right.
And the audio is only catching what it can. But it's the next best evidence to see what I saw and to be able to replay, and instead of second guessing what somebody thought they saw, you can see it. So those have been instrumental in a lot of our cases, again, capturing the best evidence and clearing our officers because we do get complaints that turn out to be unfounded. And whereas before it might be a he said, she said, and we can't clear it, now it's demonstrably false. We can show it, or it's demonstrably true.
Yeah.
So as far as the citizens, if they do make a complaint and it's well-founded, then it's going to back up what you said.
There you go.
And it's going to alert us to one of our, a problem in our officer corps, which is very few and far between.
Of course.
Or on the other side, if something happens and somebody makes a complaint on one of our officers, we can clear it out. So. Good.
They're very important. Now, these are like, I want to say, public-facing pieces of technology. Is there anything behind the scenes that maybe not help like the SWAT team, but is there any technology that, say, your civilian, the civilian people that work for PD, is there anything behind the scenes, software or anything that maybe us folks don't see?
I'm sure our analysts use a lot of different stuff. I'm not sure into that realm. I don't dive into that.
Yeah.
I know we recently purchased a 3D printer, so we've kind of used that. I mean, some of the stuff on this guy is 3D printed. The little horn on the front here, and that's a soft rubberized plastic, so it can push open doors.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask what this is for. I thought maybe it was for protection for him. But
no, yeah, it's a little horn, so instead of damaging a door, it just pushes it.
Oh, okay.
So he can walk right into it.
Yeah.
Some of the other things, even just for parts of the cars, when we upgraded our laptops, little adapters that a vendor was going to charge us like over $100 for two little pieces of plastic. We can print them for the price of that printer.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
it saved the citizens a lot of money.
Sure.
Just on simple things. So and again, helping our police explorers, they use the plastic guns when they do little training.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So instead of buying those for like $60, we can print them
Now you
for
can make 'em.
like $4. So yeah.
That's great. 3D printers are awesome. I think we're investing one in communications as well.
Yeah.
How does the department decide what types of technology that they need and what types that they think that they'll use in this community?
Generally, we have good tacticians. Whether it's we're talking about the traffic unit, they're the specialists in that field. They know about whether it's doing DUI investigations or traffic homicides, what they need. So they see a need somewhere and they'll go search it out. Same thing for SWAT.
Okay.
As I discussed how this guy came into existence, there was a deficiency in our current tools that we had in specific situations. So we're like, well, how can we remedy that? So you start looking around. It might be conferences that you go to where, there's the expos at the shows and you see different vendors. You're like, that's something we could use.
Right.
And then you bring it back and then either it's a good idea or it's not, or it's priced outside our range, or we can find it or we make it work. So it's really the office and the people who found it. I didn't find it. One of my guys saw it, and then he was the one that sought out the grant and kind of pushed that through. So it's really our officers on the boots on the ground are the ones that are finding these different innovations. Now, some things may come from the chiefs' conferences, or you see it nationwide coming across, and then we finally jump on the bandwagon and do it. But a lot of the different little things like this that you see, it's just because the people who are in that field said, hey, this would be a good thing that we should do, and we either test it and works out, and there have been some things where like, oh, this would be great, and we get it, like, that's not going to work out well.
So you see it, you have your hands on it, and it doesn't work for you guys.
Correct.
So finally, like to close out, first of all, does this guy have a name? And we keep saying he. Is it a boy?
I get we're signing something. I don't know. It's called a Unitree Go 2.
Okay.
But our captain affectionately calls it Tinker.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's going to stick, but that's what he's been calling it.
Maybe we should have a contest and have the
Maybe
kids
we
name
should
it.
do that, yeah.
That would be really cool. All of this technology equipment is awesome. Let's just put it out there. Why is it crucial that Port St. Lucie Police invest in this type of stuff? It's safety is the ultimate goal, I'm assuming.
Yeah. It's not to have the latest and greatest. That might sound good for us that get to play with these things, and that's why we bring them out to like National Night Out. As I think, not just as the users of this technology, we need to be good stewards of the technology and allow people, that this isn't scary. We're not spying on people. So to get out there and have people have that one-on-one where they can ask me their questions, or even in forums like this where they may follow up and be like, hey, I'm concerned about privacy issues. Well, we address that in our policies. Yeah. But I think the importance of having all this stuff, like you said and like we've discussed, is ultimately the safety of our officer corps. Anything that can... And the citizens, we go out there. That's a priority life. That's what we go under, and that includes the bad guy as well. We want that. We're not forgetting about him or her, but that is an important aspect. And these tools all go into playing into that. So
good. Is there anything that you want to add that we maybe missed?
I think that's it. We covered. I mean, there's a lot more stuff that we have.
I could imagine.
We could be here for hours.
We could be here for a 2-3 hour podcast. People probably
come out to the Safety Fest or National Night Out.
Yes, we have Safety Fest, National Night Out, and I'm sure if you visit, little kids come all the time to visit you guys.
Yeah, we do demos a lot. Yeah.
So you might, maybe you're up there with the canine officers now. I mean, they get all the attention usually.
Yeah. Well, we bring this out too, and the kids use it.
And it's a dog.
They love that. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us.
Yeah, anytime.
We just thought this was a really important topic to bring to our podcast, and to actually have some of the equipment out here on the table is pretty cool. Yeah. So like I said earlier, if you're listening to our podcast, that's awesome, but you might want to tune into YouTube so you can see all these cool things. We're going to dive into our 10 questions. We always end our podcast with these. Just so people can get to know our staff a little bit better, make them more human, I guess. Okay, here we go. Ready?
Ready.
All right, what's your favorite food?
Chicken and rice.
Chicken and rice. There's several people say that. Favorite movie?
Favorite movie? I like Christopher Nolan stuff, but I'd have to say like The Goonies. Go back. The Goonies.
Yes. Goonies never say die.
Yeah.
Favorite hobby?
So before it was flying
Before
drones.
this, yeah.
Yeah, I used to fly racing drones and all that, but now I have 4 kids and they're not taking a lot of my time, so I don't have hobbies anymore.
Okay, they're your hobbies.
Yeah.
What about your favorite singer or your favorite band?
I like Brandon Lake and David Crowder.
Genre?
Christian
Oh, okay,
artists, yeah.
cool. Yeah, that's probably why I've never heard of them before. Favorite book?
Calvin and Hobbes.
Comic
Calvin,
book?
yeah, the comic books, Calvin and Hobbes.
Perfect. How about your favorite holiday? We got a couple coming up.
Christmas.
Christmas?
Yeah. Christmas.
Yes, Christmas in the studio. How about your favorite place to visit?
The mountains, Rockies, Maine. I'm from Maine, so.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Where are you from in Maine?
Outside of Augusta.
Okay, cool. Favorite dessert? This used to be favorite ice cream, but we got scolded last time, so we made it dessert.
I'd probably say an ice cream, but I don't know what it would be. I don't know, maybe like a peanut butter cup, something.
Oh,
yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. How about your favorite TV show?
Nothing current. Maybe Lost. Again, going back a
That's a
little
good
bit.
show.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
Best TV shows are back then. And final question, what about your favorite color?
Blue.
Okay, I figured you'd say that. I think all the police officers have said blue. Again, Sergeant Reynolds, thank you so much. Have a great Thanksgiving. Oh, wait, Thanksgiving was yesterday. Haha. Have a great holiday season. And we'll get back to you and talk maybe a little bit more about if you get some more equipment coming to the
anytime. We'll show
department.
you what we got. Again, nothing's a secret what we have here. So.
All right, sounds good.
Anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you.